You're watching Powerline America. Tonight, the Iranian regime has silenced its streets with force. But the quiet left behind is not the silence of peace. It is the quiet of a nation holding its breath, waiting to see if the next seismic shift in its history will come from a foreign bomb, a desperate negotiation, or a final push from its own people. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a story that matters. What does the end of a protest look like? In Tehran tonight, a resident told CNN the mood in the capital is like the days around Nowruz, the Persian New Year, when shops close early and people leave town. But there is no festive cheer, only an eerie, unsettling quiet. Life is carrying on, in the shadow of a crackdown that has reportedly left more than 2,400 Iranians dead, and under the specter of a potential new war between Iran and the United States. This quiet did not come from compromise. It came from brute force. It is a silence manufactured by an unprecedented digital shutdown that has cut Iran off from the world, and by the regime's willingness to use its security playbook one more time to crush dissent. The streets are clear. The regime hopes to bring out its crowds and blast its revolutionary tunes next month for the 47th anniversary of its revolution. But in the halls of power in Tehran, the mood is anything but celebratory, because the fundamental threat to the Islamic Republic did not walk off the streets last week. It simply went underground. How did we get to this precipice? It began, as it so often does, with the economy. Last Thursday and Friday, what started as economic protests in Tehran's ancient bazaars transformed. The chants changed, from complaints about bread and jobs to something far more fundamental: death to the dictator, down with the regime. And in a startling historical echo, some voices even called for the return of Reza Pahlavi, the exiled son of Iran's last Shah, a monarchy overthrown by this very regime in 1979. This wasn't just another protest. For the ruling clerics, this was the ghost of revolutions past knocking at their door. And their response shows you exactly how threatened they felt. The regime crushed the protests from a position of profound and historic weakness. This is the crucial, overlooked context. Think back to last summer. Iran's nuclear facilities were badly damaged by U.S. strikes. Its regional network of proxies, the militias in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, has been largely neutralized by Israel. This is a regime that has lost much of its foreign leverage and its ability to project power. It is wounded, and a wounded regime, backed into a corner, is often the most dangerous kind. That brings us to the second, volatile actor in this drama: Washington. Over the past several weeks, President Trump repeatedly threatened to attack Iran if it used violence against its own people. For a moment, the world braced for another U.S. military intervention in the Middle East. But then, a shift. On Thursday, Trump said very important sources on the other side told him the killing had stopped. Gulf nations like Qatar and Saudi Arabia had reportedly urged the U.S. to stand down, warning of catastrophic regional fallout. So for now, the immediate drums of war have softened. But listen to what Trita Parsi of the Quincy Institute told CNN. There has been no solution to the actual root of the tensions. The threat hasn't vanished, it's just changed form. And it has created a bizarre, almost paradoxical moment. The U.S., seeing Iran at its weakest point in decades, may now try to force it into the most lopsided diplomatic deal imaginable. Imagine the table if talks restart. On one side, a U.S. administration feeling emboldened, holding all the cards. On the other, an Iranian regime stripped of its nuclear progress and its regional influence. The U.S. would demand not just nuclear limits, but an end to Iran's missile program and support for groups like Hezbollah, things the regime has always treated as non-negotiable pillars of its revolutionary identity. The regime now faces a choice that echoes its own history. In 1988, after a brutal 8-year war with Iraq, the founder, Ayatollah Khomeini, agreed to a ceasefire he loathed. He called it drinking from a poisoned chalice. But he did it to ensure the survival of the state. Nearly 40 decades later, the current supreme leader may be handed another poisoned chalice. To save the regime from external attack, he may have to capitulate to American demands that would humiliate it at home. But here's the excruciating catch-22. Even if he drinks it, will it be enough? Because the real crisis in Iran isn't just about nukes or missiles anymore. The analysts in this report point to something more profound: the utter and likely permanent shredding of the social contract between the state and its people. What is a social contract? It's the unspoken deal. The people cede some freedoms, and in return, the state provides security, some measure of prosperity, and a sense of dignity. The Islamic Republic has broken every term. It failed to protect citizens from foreign attacks. It has wrecked the economy through corruption and isolation. It has denied basic social and political freedoms. And now it has demonstrated with horrifying clarity that its final answer to dissent is to kill its own citizens in the streets. Trita Parsi puts it bluntly: that contract has been damaged forever. So the regime is caught in a vice, squeezed by a potentially hostile superpower from the outside and hollowed out by the seething, silent fury of its own population from the inside. Which brings us to the ultimate, haunting question: if not this regime, then what? Inside Iran, the organized opposition has been systematically dismantled over decades. Reformist politicians like Mostafa Tajzadeh or Nobel laureate Narges Mohammadi are in prison. The security apparatus is vast, entrenched, and invested in the status quo. And outside, the picture is murkier and fractured. The exiled son of the Shah, Reza Pahlavi, has re-emerged as a figurehead for some, but after 47 years away, he is, as one analyst said, a divisive figure with no clear plan that doesn't rely on American intervention. He is not the united front of a revolution. This is the terrifying vacuum that opens up when a regime loses all legitimacy, but no clear alternative has emerged to take its place. It raises the specter not just of regime change, but of national fragmentation, of a diverse country with deep ethnic divisions potentially coming apart. And yet, the analysts in this report are clear: this is not over. A line has been crossed, one says. We have reached a point of no return. The leaders in Tehran know their own history better than anyone. They remember that the 1979 revolution that brought them to power wasn't a single event. It was a culmination, a protest movement that ebbed and flowed for over a year, each wave larger than the last, until finally the Shah's army refused to fire on the people and the monarchy collapsed. They know that the silence they have imposed is temporary, that the grievances are still there, festering, that another wave is only a matter of time. So tonight, Iran stands at a historic nexus of three possible futures, each fraught with danger: a war that could ravage the region, a humiliating diplomatic surrender that might not even save the regime, or a revolutionary upheaval whose outcome is terrifyingly unknown. The eerie quiet in Tehran is the sound of a nation pausing at the very edge of the unknown, and will be watching. For Powerline America, I'm Rachel Maddow. Thank you for being with us.